And we are live, guys. Welcome to yet another live session from Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling, and today we're going to talk about how you should always take the blame. I'm not talking about insurance things here because sometimes, you can't just admit that you've done something wrong when it really is the other person's fault. But you should be able to have an open mind and be willing to communicate without taking the blame in an insurance case. Okay, but when that is said, in business, you should always take the blame. Take full responsibility for the things that have happened and the things that have not happened. When things go well, you should give others the glory. It is you that created it, but you allow others to get the glory because you know that if you take the glory and they feel that they had a very important part in it, then you're taking away their glory. You're stealing their thunder. Instead, it would be wiser for the long term to give them all of the glory so that they in turn want to stay and work with you. That's the most important part. Retaining good people is a critical part for business. If you lose your best people, you've basically lost your business. And that's why in the news all the time when you hear about CEOs and people that step down from their positions and things like that, it's not very fun. It's a natural part of business, but the best businesses manage to retain their people. So that's when things going well, things are actually happening and your business is a success. That's when you should give others the glory. This is also in family life. Why should you take all the glory for things that are happening that are going well in the family? When things are going well, blame all the family members in a positive manner because they'll look up to you, they'll follow you, and they'll want to do what you want them to do. This is not manipulation. This is actually how to treat people. Give them more than what you're getting from them. Create more value than create as much value as possible. Because that value will always return back tenfold. People will always respond favorably if you give them favorably first. But when it comes to when things go bad, which is a lot of the time, in simple terms, in life, you're trying to build something that works, something that is successful. You're trying to build the truth, really. Remember my quote? The truth is that which works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. That's what the truth is. So if you want to create the truth or create success, you need to make sure that it works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. If it's not working, then you haven't gotten to that point yet. And whose fault is it if something is not working? It is your fault. Or, if it's my business, it is my fault. Most of the time, the reason why something is not working is because we have a lack of information or we're simply not prepared. We have too much baggage, we have too much to think about, and we're like, oh crap, I forgot. Or something goes wrong and you're like, I did not see that coming. During those times, we just need to learn how to adapt, learn how to think differently about the situation, get into solution mode as quickly as possible, because there's always a solution. Now, if you start blaming others, remember I've spoken about this in the past, I believe in day 16, that if you blame others, you give them the power. You give them the leadership to take control of the situation. Most of the time you understand that most people are not leaders. Most people do not handle solutions, and most people don't think like you that there's always a solution. They don't. You have to take that step. You have to be the leader, because that will reward you and the team handsomely. When you take charge and go in the front as an example and still give other people the glory, then people will follow you and things will be solved. Eventually, they'll begin to develop leadership skills as well. They'll follow your example. They'll also take the blame when something goes wrong, and then they'll give the glory to someone else when something goes right. In that way, you now continuously are creating a business. You're creating a movement. You're creating something that's bigger than yourself that other people want to become a part of. Once that happens, you now are creating momentum. You're creating success. You're creating the truth. And that is what we want to have happen. So always remember, you take the blame when something goes wrong, whether it's your fault or not. And you help solve the situation ASAP. Just an example from my daily life. My 3 kids, every single time we ask them, who did this, right? And then they'll see, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. And then, great, so how are we going to solve the problem? Now, the key point is not to ask who did this. Because if you ask who did this, then you are automatically blaming, right? And if you're blaming, they're most probably not going to take leadership. Now, if you say, what is it that happened here, or why is it like this, and then you ask all of them individually, then they will tell you, most probably. And if they say, again, it's not me, you explain to them very nicely and very direct that you want everyone to take responsibility for it. In that sense, you want them to say, you know what, I will promise that I will not do this in the future. Even if they're not the ones who did it, they now understand the lesson that this thing, the specific thing that happened, that it wasn't supposed to happen, that will not happen again from this specific individual, even though he had nothing to do with that thing that happened in the first place. Does that make sense? So, we don't give anyone the blame. We take full responsibility, we get all the information, and we make sure that everyone never does that thing again. Or, everyone does the correct thing in the future. So that was my session today about learning how to always take the blame, always take responsibility. Of course, be wise in terms of insurance cases and stuff like that, but you understand the point. The most critical aspect of life is to be an example, be a leader, people will follow you, and together we can lead each other to a better society and a better world. My name is Joseph Darling, and this is the Men of High Value channel, and I'll see you again tomorrow.